To take the contrary position, we have Dr. Jeff Peters, who was the 17th president of SAGES. He is chairman at the University of Rochester. Dr. Peters has taken a vow of poverty, and he has 3 daughters to assure that he will stay faithful to that vow. Dr. Peters.
Dr. Wexner, where's the meat? Where's the meat? I thought we were talking about here whether third-party payers should reimburse for research. And I'll start with my disclosures. I pay taxes, and I do research. Now, let me show you the reality of the world we live in, Dr. Wexner. We have a $2.2 trillion healthcare system. I'll put that into perspective in a moment. We spend most of that on hospital care and physician care, and perhaps if you add in drug costs into that, we're talking about up to 2/3 of the healthcare expenditures in the United States. I saw a slide recently that takes this up to $4 trillion by the year 2020. That becomes a significant part of our economy, which is the genesis of the issue. Sorry, went backwards then. Now, what does it cost us to do research? It's about $100 billion a year expended on research in this country. That's about 5% of that $2 trillion I just showed you. It's about half supported by the NIH. That's government budget. And everyone sitting in this room now knows that the government doesn't have endless dollars. It has priorities. Those dollars perhaps could go somewhere if they weren't supporting research, but most of us would agree that it's appropriate for the NIH to support the research. It does get reimbursed. The patients, of course, don't pay for it, but the government supports it. And the other half down here is supported by the industry that Steve so eloquently argued should support it. And I'll show you in a moment that that's absolutely right. They should support it. Not the third-payer insurance companies, and certainly not Medicare. $100 billion in research per year. And the number's growing. Remember, if we make this thesis that discovery or research should be reimbursed, that these curves will continue to grow as the years and the decades go by. In fact, they've already grown substantially since 2004, as you can see by the 100 billion number, and we're getting into increasingly significant problems with the prioritization of the funds, as I mentioned a moment ago. We don't have enough money to pay for everything. And we throw around billions and talk about it like it's nothing. Let me put it in perspective for you. 1 billion seconds ago was 1959. 1 billion minutes ago, Jesus was alive. 1 billion hours ago, our ancestors were living in the Stone Age, and 1 billion days ago, there was no two-legged people walking on the face of the earth. But you walk down the street a little bit, or perhaps row your boat up the Potomac a little bit, and $1 billion dollars ago was 8 hours and 20 minutes at the rate our government's spending it. Incredible perspective when you think about it. Now, Steve said this is confidential information, but I can tell you I found it in about 5 minutes with a Google search in my computer at home on last Sunday afternoon. I'm going to show you the profits from the healthcare industry and break it down in terms of the insurance industry, as is shown here, the pharmaceutical industry, and the device industry. And I want you to ask yourself where that $100 billion is going to come from. $100 billion. Here's the insurance industry. And I've circled the 5 largest insurers in the United States here. There's a fair bit of clustering at the top, as we all know. And you can see the profits in annual dollars. This is 2008 dollars, range from about $3 billion per year for the most profitable company, United Healthcare Group, down to a couple of $100 million per year. And there's some on there that I think are even negative for the year 2008. Now here we are in the pharmaceutical industry, and you take an order of magnitude larger. There's the 5 top largest pharmaceutical dollars. Here's their Fortune 500 rank, their net revenues, their change from 2007. And again, here's their profits per year. We start with J&J with profits of about $13 billion per year, profits now to the company. And you can see it trickles on down into the $5 billion per year. And this is a little bit broader and deeper than the insurance industry. And if you count the top 10 here, you're still in substantial numbers. There's no negative numbers on this list. And they're all significantly higher, in fact, orders of magnitude higher than the insurance industry. The medical device products industry is nowhere near as profitable as the drug companies. The margins are nowhere near as high. And here's the 5 largest 2008 profit centers for the device companies. You can see Boston Scientific took a bath in 2008. Didn't do so well, and that's when they had stent issues, I think. And these range anywhere from a couple of $1 billion on down to a loss of a couple of $1 billion. I show you these data, and I'll summarize them in a table here. The top 5 pharma companies, if you took the top 5 profits per year, you're talking about $13 billion, $14 billion. The top 10 gets up to about $50 billion in profits. The health insurance industry is paltry $10 billion or $13 billion, and the device industry is even less than that. Even if you aggregate all of those together, you're not coming close. And eliminate profit out of the various industries that are on this list, you're not coming close to supporting the $100 billion that's necessary to support device and research drug development in this country. I would argue we need to leave it right exactly where it is. And that is supported by the industries that benefit from it. In fact, if you look at the profit margins of various industries, drug manufacturers are up there at the top, second only to some of the really minting money industries here, like making cigarettes or making software, where they're pure money machines. The industry are doing fine. Their stock prices and their profits, by and large, are growing. They are not suffering from the fact that they support this research in a big way, and they continue to thrive. And in fact, you can argue that there's excess in the pharmaceutical industry, far from the fact that we ought to shift this burden away from the drug companies and the device development companies onto the backs of Medicare or even the third-party payers. There's excess there. And a comment's been made that drug companies enjoy higher profits than any other industry. In 2002, for example, the top 10 drug companies in the United States had a median profit margin of 17%. I showed you that a moment ago, compared with only 3.1% for all the other industries in the Fortune 500. And if you take that a step further, indeed, subtracting losses from gains, those 10 companies made more profits in that year than the other 490 companies on the Fortune 500 list put together. Staggering thoughts, absolutely staggering thoughts. There's no question in my mind who should pay for this burden, and it is not Medicare, and it is not the third-party reimbursement. In fact, I'll just leave with this, Steve, that this whining about who's going to pay for research has been going on for a long time. Here we are in 1988, 22 years ago, and the sky was falling. Clinical cancer research is in jeopardy. We're not going to be able to do any more research. No one's paying for it. No one's reimbursing for the patients to be enrolled in clinical trials. And I would submit to you that in the last 22 years, we've made some of the most dramatic progress in cancer care than has been made in the hundreds of years before that, despite our current mechanisms to pay for it. So, Steve, you're out of your mind. We ought to leave it right where we are. Thank you very much.